Yeah, we did it, man. Secrets to Recovery. We are live. Yeah. Secrets to Recovery, man, brought to you by God's Chosen Ones organization and the God's Chosen Ones transition homes. Also in conjunction with PTMG, Post-Traumatic Music Gang. We're going to be doing some real big partnerships, putting some powerful events and things like that together. So look out for them. We got a powerful one for you today, man. Frank Turek came out to Lebanon, PA. And I like Frank Turek, but man, he got a lot wrong on this one. So we're going to go deep into that. We're going to break that down. And so let's go ahead and get into it. Yeah. Bam. Did it. Back. You know what I mean? Let me know if you like the shirt, man. We get one of those out to you. Warren Garrett. We're back in the building. Secrets to Recovery, man. We got some work to do. Yo, your boy Frank Turek. I like Frank. I do, man. He's a good debater. Smart guy. But, man, he came to town, man, and just, dropped a whole bunch of propaganda, word salad all over the place, man. He dropped some good information, too, man, but I'll be honest with you, man. This one's going to be powerful right here, man. Frank Turek, man, we're going to break this down. He came out to Lebanon Calvary Chapel. Shout out to them for bringing him out. It was a good, good speak, good speech. He's a good talker, you know what I'm saying? He knows his stuff for sure, but what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get into this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this down right here. Bang. Get this going. Now let's go ahead and switch it over to the screen share cam. Check this out. No doubt. So we back. So here we go. We got Mr. Frank Turek, Dr. Frank Turek, really. He came out to Lebanon. He's up there, Calvary Chapel. Now, what he's going to do to open up, he's going to get into this story about this guy who was over in Iraq fighting a war, and they tossed a grenade up, and he threw himself onto the grenade to save his fellow soldiers and everything, which is very honorable, man, powerful. But what I want to show is what he does is he gets into the part where George Bush comes in, because George Bush has given him a medal, or is actually giving it to his family because he didn't survive. So watch this right here, and I just want to give a little quick take on this because we all know what happened now.
When President
Looking back.
George W. Bush invited Mansour's parents into the East Room of the White House to give them their son's Medal of Honor posthumously. The president couldn't even get through the citation without breaking down.
Oh, he was crying. All right, so let me stop it right there. Now, the reason I say that like that is because what we all know now about the whole Iraq war and how it jumped off, he up there crying because he caused that. Remember King David and how he sent that guy to his death? Similar situation right here where they caused this war for profit gain. You know what I'm saying? We already know that. That's been documented. That's out there. But that was just a small thing right there. But the truth is that now watch, he's going to go on and talk about how they named all these buildings after him and after the young man that passed away, and they named the ships after him and did all this stadiums and everything. But the truth is they family, they don't care about them symbols. They care about having their loved one there with them. You know what I mean? Especially with this whole war in Iraq that, questionably could have been avoided, had it not been for the greed of those who were in power at the time. Now check this out. I'm going to skip up to where he starts talking about, like, is there such thing as truth? So I'm going to let this play for a minute right here. Check this out.
It's not often said this way. Quite frequently, it's said this way. There isn't the truth, only my truth. You have your truth, I have my truth. You live your truth, I'll live my truth. We'll all get along. It sounds so right. It sounds so Oprah, doesn't it? It sounds like we all ought to believe this. There's just one big problem with it. It's logically self-defeating. Why? Because if somebody says there isn't the truth, only my truth, you just need to ask them, is that just your truth or the truth? In other words, is this statement up here just your truth? If it is, it's just your opinion. Okay, why should I believe it? But if you're saying that this statement is the truth up here, well, the first half of the statement says there aren't any the truths. Can everybody see that this is a the truth statement claiming there are no such thing as the truth statements?
All right, so let me stop it right there. So basically, he's saying, okay, he's saying that's not a true statement. But what I want to push back on that with is the fact that what about perspectives? That's what people are talking about. When somebody says it's not your truth, it's my truth, and all these different things, because we saw that type of language come out when during the whole Me Too movement, when people were expressing their experiences with different types of sexual violations and different things, and so people have their own truths in what happened in those type of situations. Also, you got to think about perspective. You walk up on two people fighting, right? You walk up on two people fighting. The truth that you see in your eyes, you see two people fighting. That's what you could say. That's the truth. But you don't know the details of what's happening, the context. Like maybe they're just playing. You don't know walking up on it. You can't go by what's the absolute truth. So you don't always have an absolute truth. There's different perspectives and different ways of looking at it. Let's see. Okay. Let's go up here. This is where he was talking about some more of that. Let's see. Got to get that. I have the timestamps written down so I could. Okay, so 15. So let's go right there. Let's start it right there.
It's true because I have faith. I mean, do you have to believe something to make it true? You have to believe in gravity to stay on the ground. Do people who don't believe in gravity float away?
Now, I'm going to stop it right there. Now, that's interesting that he said that. Do you have to believe something for it to be true? No, not at all. So why do we have this thing where if you don't believe, you're going to go to hell? It's just not, it's not true. Your salvation is true no matter what. Jesus came to save the whole world, no matter what you believe, no matter what you want out of the whole situation. Because the only reason you believe or want anything is mainly because of your biology and the Most High interceding. So he's saying right there, you don't have to believe it for it to be true. But then later on, he'll go on to say, oh, but if you don't believe, you're going to be in trouble. Well, why? Jesus came to die on the cross for everyone, no matter what. No matter what you believe, what I believe, it just is what happened. Okay. Oh, okay. Here's a good one right here. Now this is going to be a powerful one right here. Let me skip over here. 36. Okay. Let's go right here. All right. Let's go right there. All right, from there. See what happens.
Realm. But they don't trust in him. They don't
okay. He's talking about the demons and how they believe in God too.
That little book in the New Testament called. Man, you guys are sharp this morning. James says even the demons believe that God exists, but they tremble. Do you realize that if demons exist, and they do, and if God exists, and he does, that demons know that God exists better than we do? They're in the spiritual realm, but they don't trust in him. They don't want to trust in him. There's a difference. You can know something's true and still not assent to it. There's a difference between belief that and belief. We know this in relationships, don't we?
Okay, now of course it's all confusing. You believe in this, that. You know, it's bringing confusion in. But here's the truth. Even in speaking about demons, they're created beings. God created everything. There's no getting around that. God is in control of those who believe. And if you don't believe me, I won't say in control of those who believe. I'm saying he's in control of the belief of those who believe. He's the one that gave them that. And I'm going to prove that to you in the Bible. Let me get my phone out here and look this up. And if you want to look this up too, feel free. If you go to John chapter 12, verse 39 through 40, that's a powerful verse right there. Watch this. Let me look this up here real quick. I wasn't prepared. Okay. Second here. All right, John 12. 39 through 40. Now watch this. Watch this. This is what happened here. Now you could read the whole chapter here and you really see the whole context of what's happening, but this is what it all resulted to. 39. For this reason they could not believe, because as Isaiah says elsewhere, now he's going back and quoting prophecy, right? This was meant to happen. Now check this out. He said, he has blinded their eyes and hardened their hearts, so they can neither see with their eyes nor understand with their hearts, nor turn, and I would still heal them. Now check this out. When you read before that, you'll see that these are people that were walking with Jesus. They saw him doing the miracles. They saw him bringing people back to life and all that. You know what I'm saying? But they could not believe. It wasn't a matter of choice. It wasn't a matter of just want. To fulfill the prophecy in Isaiah, God purposely blinded them for a time. But he does not mean he's going to forget them and leave them, to burn in some eternal torture chamber. Like, it's ridiculous. It clearly says, you know what I'm saying, that he caused that. When you look at Pharaoh, when you look at Paul, when you look at many examples in the Bible, even Jesus himself said, you did not choose me, I chose you. But they don't teach that in church these days. And that's the problem. They're bringing all this confusion in. Well, you can believe in, but not believe on. You know what I mean? Like, come on, Frank, cut it out. So let's move on. Oh, snap, this is a good one right here. So let's skip ahead right here. Let me see, what was that? All right, hold up. All right, right there. Go. Check this out.
Now, most of the time when the Bible's talking about faith, it's talking about the second kind. After you know that Jesus is the Savior, trust in him. In fact, John chapter 20, the end of the chapter, I'm paraphrasing, but he puts belief that and belief in into one sentence when he says that these things were written down so that you may know that Jesus is the Savior, and by believing in him you may have life in his name. So faith is not blind. Faith doesn't mean, I have no evidence, I'm just going to believe. Faith means trusting in, but you have good evidence to believe that is true. Trusting in.
Oh, I'm sorry, I passed it.
I
went to the wrong side.
Does this make sense? Back. So always ask,
okay.
Are we talking about belief that sent to it?
Okay, let's do this.
Restart.
Sorry about that.
Belief that and belief. We know this in relationships, don't we? When I first met my wife 37 years ago, I got evidence that she would be a good wife, but all the evidence in the world didn't make her my wife. I had to take a step of trust in her to ask her to be my wife. And in a momentary lapse of judgment, she said yes. That's the difference between belief that and belief in. One just is of the head, the other's of the heart.
Let me stop right there. Now, it's interesting that he Frank would use that example of his wife, because we are supposed to look at like Jesus coming back for his bride, like it's going to be a big wedding, right? But the thing is this. Now, say he goes to ask his wife to be his wife, right? And let's just say she says no, right? Now she says no, I don't want to be your wife, okay, for whatever reason. And he says, okay, well now I'm gonna eternally torture you, right? No, that would be crazy. So he's gonna use that as an example. But if you talk about the whole hell aspect, he won't be using that as an example. He wouldn't use that, because then you have to talk about, well, if you don't love me, then I'm gonna burn you forever. You know what I'm saying? So here, let's move forward here. Let me see, where was I at? Man, Josh came in, messed me all up. Let me see. That's what. Oh, and that's another good thing I wrote down here, because we were looking at the book of John. But imagine this: John is as important as this whole hell aspect thing is supposed to be. John never spoke about hell in the whole book of the whole book. Neither did Paul speak anything about going to this eternal torture chamber. Now, if it was a real thing, it would be all throughout the Bible, all over the place. But I digress. Move forward. You know what I mean? Let's see. Oh, now this was a powerful one. Let me move forward up here. Watch this. 38:20. All right, let's see here. Yeah. What's going on though, man? Yeah, here's a good one right here, because this is where he starts getting into is it God in control? Check this out.
So always ask, are we talking about belief that or belief in right now? If you don't want to go to belief in, you don't have to. God will not force you into heaven against your will.
Oh, really?
If you don't want him now, you're not going to want him in eternity. God gives you the free will to decide whether or not you're going to accept him.
Oh, man, people are sitting there eating this up. They're eating this up in that church.
You're also going to hear this. You should doubt everything.
All right, let me stop it right there. So he's going to say, God won't force you into heaven. Really? Really? Is that true? I don't think so. Ask Paul about that when he was on the road to Damascus and God blind him and knock him off where he was going to. There wasn't no free choice in that. Check out what Jesus said. When you go to John 15:16, he said, you didn't choose me. I chose you. You know what I'm saying? Like, he chose Paul to go and do all that. Everybody in the Bible, he chose them to go do all that. Everything that they did. It was no, I'm not going to come with you, Jesus. It was none of that. He specifically raised them up to be in that position where he could walk up on them, and he does that with us today. They just don't want you to, they want to make you feel guilty because you didn't do something. But that's not what was written. Where is that in the Bible, Frank? You know what I'm saying? Tell us where that is. So check this out. Let's go. Let's move on. This is where we start getting a little bit into the psychology and biology aspect of this. So we got 41. Let's go right there. Bang, hit it.
I'm a Jehovah's Witness. By the time I have my second cup, I'm back to being a Christian. What's changing, him or the evidence? He's changing, right? The evidence doesn't change. You might go up and down psychologically. In fact, we do this presentation quite a bit on college campuses. Earlier this week, we're at a couple of colleges in Louisiana. And prior to that, we're at Ohio State. A couple of weeks, we'll be at University of New Hampshire. And sometimes I run into former Christians on the campus, and they'll say, hey, Frank, I used to be a Christian, but I lost my faith. You know what I want to say to them? So, are you telling me because your psychology changed that God has somehow popped out of existence?
Okay, so let me stop that right there. So he's saying right there, look, if just because you're having mental changes and you're feeling different and things like that, nothing changes. You still are saved. You still have salvation. That doesn't change just because something in your life happened to make you. And to go a little further with that, there's people in the mental health side of things, to go a little bit on the extreme side, there's people in there that because of their physical condition, they'll never call out the name Jesus. They'll never be at some altar call to walk down and freely so-called confess this. But God is not going to forget about them. You know what I'm saying? Just because you were in a position in your life, you were given the life to where one day you could walk down some church aisle and say, hey, I'm saved now. I'm giving my life to Jesus. Just because you were in position to do that, God was the one that made it possible for you to be there to begin with because he first selected you. But we want to be arrogant. That's arrogance to say, oh, I had to first do something and then, Jesus could respond. Like, that's ridiculous. God's not waiting on none of y'all. He ain't waiting on nobody. He has a plan in action and he's going to see it through. Okay, let's go here. Go here. 42. Okay.
And what do people do? They allow their psychology to overpower the evidence. Don't let that be you in eternity. What you think
Trying to scare
is
us.
true isn't necessarily true. You've got to look at the evidence to discover what is. And when you look at the evidence...
Okay, well, if you're looking at the evidence, look at what the Bible says. Not what you saying, Frank. It's oh, okay, hold on. He's getting ready to get into this
realize
whole fear thing.
Christianity's true. And then you can start doubting your doubts. And if you start doubting your doubts, then you're back to knowing something for sure. Have you guys ever thought about doubting your doubts? I doubt it. Oh, how about this? You're going to hear this a lot. You ought not judge. So, are you telling me because your psychology changed that God has somehow popped out of existence? Are you telling me because your psychology changed that Jesus, all the evidence for him rising from the dead is no longer any good? No, your psychology will not tell you whether or not anything outside your skull is true.
Right.
The evidence will. Don't concentrate on your psychology. Your psychology can change with the weather. And it probably does around here quite a bit. Your psychology can change with the bad pizza you had last night, right?
Let me pause that. But he got into a part where he was talking about, if you were afraid of a plane. I want to find that because he was making no sense. Try this
That
right
be
here.
you in eternity. What you think is true isn't necessarily true. You've got to look at the evidence to discover what is. And when you look at the evidence, I think you're going to realize that Christianity is true. And then you can start doubting your doubts. And if you start doubting your doubts, then you're back to knowing something for sure. Have you guys ever thought about doubting your doubts? I doubt it.
I want to find that. I don't know where it's at.
Oh, how about this? You're going to hear this a lot. You ought not judge. He was writing his gospel, his biography, which we call a gospel. He said, here's chapter 7, verse 1.
Oh, yeah, it's okay.
No. When were the chapter and verse divisions added to the text? About 500 years ago to help us navigate the text, which is important. Why? Because it'd be really hard to find your way around this big, thick collection of books we call the Bible without numbers. I mean, imagine on
come on.
Sunday morning if Pastor Tom or Pastor Dan came up here and they had this big Bible and you had your big Bible and it didn't have numbers in it. And Pastor Tom looked at you and said, let's go about 2/3 of the way in. Let's see if we can find the same spot.
No, they could have just added page numbers. You know what I'm saying? You don't got to add chapters. See, here he goes. He's talking about how they added, changing the Bible, changing it, adding stuff onto it, which he said not to do that. Deuteronomy 4:2, right? So, and we see this all the time. Like, there's so many different versions, and it causes division. That's why you have all these different doctrines and denominations and different things, because they keep changing the Bible. Um, you know, let check this out now. Now, knowing that's true, God has this truth out there, and He is gonna so-called punish you if you don't find it and accept it, right? But here's a verse that you never heard in church. Check this out. Watch this. They want you to think that if you don't look at this word and go by everything in it, but watch this. Watch what Jesus said, not what Frank or Pastor Tom said. Watch this right here. Go to John 12:47 and watch what he says right here. If anyone hears my words but does not keep them, I do not judge that person. For I did not come to judge the world, but to save the whole world. Not just, it didn't say this, for I did not come to judge the world, but to save those that believe. Is that what your Bible says? No. So we need to cut it out and stop acting like if you don't do something, all of this isn't going to happen. It's nowhere in the Bible. Nowhere. It's totally made up. So check this out. This is gonna be a good one right here. This is gonna be a good one. He starts going in about that talking about how people so called get this good life if they start believing, right? Hold on, watch this. Listen to this.
This is why you should never claim that Jeremiah 29:11 is a promise to you, because it's not.
Hold up, what? You know Calvary and them ain't talking like that regularly. Hold on, watch this.
You know Jeremiah 29:11. Oh, the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you, plans to give you hope in the future. Is that a promise to 21st century Christians?
They say it is. They say it is. Every Christian will tell you, oh, God has planned to prosper you and give you this prosperous life. No. Watch this.
No, who's that a promise to? That was a promise to the exiles that went to Babylon in 586 BC.
Uh-oh.
When Nebuchadnezzar came to Jerusalem and sacked it and took people, including Daniel, to modern-day Iraq.
Uh-oh.
And God promised those people 70 years from now, I'm going to prosper you. I'm going to bring you back to the land.
Now, for all of y'all that don't know, a lot of y'all don't know because you may not have been to Calvary, don't know their doctrines like that. But for him to get up there and say that, they don't teach that in Calvary. They don't teach that. They teach you that you're going to have a prosperous life if you would just walk to the front. Come on down. They don't really do the altar call like that, but if you would just say this prayer with me, that's what Tom would say. If you would just say this prayer with me, oh, things will be so different. No, it won't. Check this out.
It's not a promise to 21st century Christians.
It wasn't a promise to
you. We see that on pillows. We see it on posters. We see it on birthday cards, on coffee mugs. It's everywhere. When people quote that as if it's a promise to them, I always ask, why don't you quote Jeremiah 44:11 as a promise to you? Why? What's Jeremiah 44:11? Jeremiah 44:11 is the promise God made to people that went to Egypt during the exile. And he told them, don't go to Egypt. You know what Jeremiah 44:11 says? I will destroy you in all Judah. You don't see that stitched into a pillow. You don't see that on a coffee mug. You don't see that on a birthday card, happy birthday. I will do. Oh,
man, you don't even understand how he is just calling them out on this because, man, they don't teach that. They teach you that you're going to be prosperous if you just do the right thing, if you just make the right decision. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have, it doesn't work that way. You know, there's people that you know, their whole lives they eat the right food. They never do drugs. They never smoke. They never drink. They never do anything bad. They don't break the law. And guess what happens? They still die. They still meet some unfair, untimely death, even though they were trying to. There's people that they eat right, everything eat right, and still have a heart attack. People that don't smoke still get lung cancer. Because God is in control. God controls all of that. He does all of that to serve whatever purpose he needs to do. Let me give you an example. I know that seems harsh, but let me give you an example. Let's say somebody's mother passes away, right? And because that happens, that's a very sad thing. But because that happened, let's say it inspires him to go and be a doctor, and he develops some type of you know, cancer medicines that's revolutionary and saves a bunch of lives. God, you know, all of those events needed to happen in order for that to happen. So God is in control. God's gonna, you know, turn something that's a negative into a positive. We see this all throughout the Bible. See what else you can say.
Destroy you and all Judah. Well, that is so sweet, Grandma. Thank you so much. You know why? Because we're taking stuff out of context. Now, it's not a promise to us, but it helps us understand the character of God. Don't get me wrong. It still has application, but it's not a promise to us. Same thing is true in Matthew 7, chapter 1. I mean, verse 1. You don't just stop there. You got to figure out the context. What does he say? He doesn't say, judge not, and he stops. Oh, you
right
look
here.
great
Watch
on the
this.
outside, you're whitewashed tombs, but on the inside, you're full of dead men's bones. You go a mile to make a convert, and then once you make them a convert, you make them twice as much a son of hell as you are. How you avoid being condemned to hell? What? Sweet and gentle Jesus said this.
Yeah, he did say that.
Jesus was
He
not
was cussing those
Barney.
people out, calling them snakes,
Can't
vipers.
we all get along, boys and girls? No! I came to bring a sword. It's going to divide mother and daughter, father and son. How often have you heard people talk about those verses?
And you got to understand this church. They do not teach that. That's what you got to understand. Jesus, and he agrees that Jesus was cussing. He was cussing these people out, man. And I could go on, man, breaking this down, man. It's crazy, man. But I'm going to stop it right there. Warren Garrett signing off. God's chosen ones, man. We'll hit you back, man. We'll be back for another one real soon. Oh, yeah, before I let you go, don't forget PTMG going to be in the building, Pittsburgh, PA, Club 24. They're going to be in there, man. Was going to be May 20th. Show's been moved to May 19th. So if you still got your tickets, no worries. We're just stepping it up a day earlier because of some technical difficulties. But the show is going to be live. Everything's still the same. Everything's still going to be lit. So please, man, come on, check us out, man. We're going to be in the building. And, man, PTMG, they done put together some artists from all over the country. Wow, man, wow. That's all I got to say, man. And also, man, look out for the interview, man. We're going to get all the artists on one interview, or at least the majority of them. Look out for that, man. We're trying to get these guys scheduled so we can get them on and chop up some real good game. So with that, I'm Warren Garrett. Secrets to Recovery, brought to you by God's Chosen Ones, and music brought to you by PTMG, Post Dramatic Music Gang. Hit them up, man. Check them out. Peace.